have whale song. Killer whale song.
What the hell was that?
Wow. Nice Moby Dick reference there, Mike. Welcome to Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. As always, I'm your host, Matt Ross, Captain Matt Ross, accompanied by my half-marathon winning co-host, Michael Pondone. How are we doing, XO?
It was not bad, pretty sore. I did do a half marathon yesterday. I did not win, but I will look up my stats because as I'm getting older at 39, I am becoming, I do get ranked higher and higher. But wait, no, that was not a Moby Dick thing. That was a Voyage Home thing. You got that.
Yeah, but the Doomsday Machine, which is our episode for tonight, is actually a Moby Dick allegory. So how about that?
I was watching this and I was thinking Voyage Home, not Wrath of Khan.
Oh, well, I know what you're talking about. Well, but Wrath of Khan's also Moby Dick, but this literally is Moby Dick.
That's what I'm saying.
You're just trying to think of that the alien probe, because it's very similar to tonight's traffic cone, which is actually a windsock bad person, the Doomsday Machine. So can you tell us what your stats are, Mr. Pontone?
Pulling that up right now. Okay, so me, Michael Pontone, 39 years old, 205
Loves Kellogg's
pounds.
cornflakes.
Ran no, not quite. Don't actually like cereal very much. I know.
Magic Spoon one day will sponsor us because I eat it so much.
I love cereal. Yes, low carb cereal, please. My ample frame did the race in 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 14 seconds. And that was a 7-minute and 41-second mile. And let's see.
That's amazing. Everyone should be saying, good job, Mike. We might even have a round of applause.
Okay, I was 383 out of hold on, 369 out of 4,059.
Pretty damn good.
And males 30 to 39. I was 143 out of 893.
Well, excellent job there, and everyone, say congratulations to Mike. Besides, you have an actual marathon coming up. I'm going to be attending that one. Maybe we'll post lots of pictures for that. But how fast?
Maybe I'll even go Star Trek.
Maybe you wear our Yelling at Gaseous Anomaly wear that you could buy at our T Public store. Everyone should go buy it now. Do it. But how fast would you be? How fast would you be running if the Doomsday Machine was chasing you? Probably pretty fast.
Ooh, boy. Definitely not running towards it like this maniac tonight.
William Wyndham, he is the captain or Commodore Decker. Yes, Matt Decker's daddy from the motion picture. So, yeah, this is the one that everyone likes. It's a military sci-fi episode written by Norman Spinard. It came out, so it's for September 22nd, 1967. Before we get to the summation, I really like this one. This, to me, is one of my all-time favorite Star Treks. I can just pop this on and just watch it, and it makes me feel good, and I enjoy every moment of it. There's not one thing I don't like. So I bet you can't guess which way I'm going until we get to the end, but I enjoyed it. Yeah. I know.
Well, we'll get into it. I did not like it. It's just I said I didn't not like it. It's just not one of my favorites.
I don't know, folks. I think I'm going to have to send Mike for a full duration into the agony booth. This is one of the best. One of the better episodes of Season 2, if not all of Star Trek as a whole. But I'm going to read to you the NBC press release from September 22nd, 1967, or a piece of it anyway, which is a strange device that is programmed to destroy every planet in the galaxy also threatens the Enterprise in the Doomsday Machine on NBC Television Network Star Trek's Colorcast on Friday, October 20th. Captain Kirk and some of his crew find the wreckage of another starship, the Constellation. So, the only survivor is its dazed Commodore, Matt Decker, guest star William Wyndham, who reveals that the alien machine attacked his ship. And then we go on to the rest of the story, but that's a pretty good summation of this video, or TV show, rather. I actually enjoy it. It is, as I was saying, an allegory for Moby Dick. Norman Spinard had said he had basically he said, if I'm going to copy, why not copy from the best? So he did copy Melville's obsession with Moby Dick, the Ahab's obsession with a whale, with Commodore Decker's obsession with the Doomsday Machine. By the way, if we can't already tell, Moby Dick does appear again in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. That's the continuation of Space Seed with Ricardo Montalban and Captain James T. Kirk laughing at this.
Captain, respectfully, our audience knows about Wrath of Khan.
Just saying, you can't have enough Khan.
This is true.
You can't have enough Finnegan, though. But
Yeah, cute.
well, let's just.
I've come to like hearing the music. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, good, because
It's no longer torture.
Good. I'll put it in right here. So this is actually written by Norman Spinard, who is a sci-fi military writer or military sci-fi writer. He actually wrote something quite controversial with an alternate timeline of World War II, where Hitler, failing at politics, becomes a science fiction writer. No, Norman Spinard was not a Nazi. He was actually an anarchist, as he liked to say. Then you also have our favorite director, or one of them, Mark Daniels. He was promised an extra $500 if he finished this in 5 days. Studio was running out of money, so they were trying to figure out any way to save money and figure out how to do things. His original treatment was so dialogue heavy that everyone was saying, I don't even know what we're talking about. It was called The Planet Eater, where a machine coming to destroy planets was actually organic and alive, and a Federation ship has to stop it. Of course, our favorite Federation ship. As you can see, that's totally different from what we saw tonight. But just first impressions, what do you think of this episode, since you said, it's not one of your favorite?
Well, here's the thing. This episode would have been about 5 minutes long if Scotty had beamed back to the Enterprise and Spock had stayed with Kirk. Because when he pulls some rank and saying, listen, I'm a crazy man, but I'm the head officer. I'm taking control of this ship. Scotty'd be like, screw you, put him in the brig. You can court-martial me afterwards.
Yes, but then who would actually fix the constellation to make it go, right?
It wouldn't have been a problem. They would have just left the Doomsday Machine. The Doomsday Machine would have gone on to someplace else.
Yeah, Rigel.
And then they would have fixed it.
It would go to Rigel. But this has got a lot of interesting, notable things at the beginning. First off, is we don't see Lieutenant Uhura. We have Lieutenant Palmer.
Yes, I saw that. And a big old step down. My goodness, we've been on a good run of attractive blonde ladies in the yeoman position, but I guess this is the communications office, and this woman, I dare to say she's not a handsome woman. I'm sorry, man.
I don't know. I think she's pretty attractive.
Yeah, where's Uhura and where's Chekhov?
Okay, well, a couple things. Chekhov wasn't in this episode because he wasn't, and Nichelle Nichols was on a singing engagement, so they had to get someone quite quickly. The person that's over here, excuse me as I flip paper because I'm old. I like to use paper. The actress who plays Lieutenant Palmer actually makes one other appearance as Lieutenant Palmer again in The Way to Eden. So that's Elizabeth Rogers. She's also a voice in Metamorphosis, and that's one with Zephyrin Cochrane, where we actually meet the original Zephyrin Cochrane. And we'll find out who Zephyrin Cochrane is later. But I really like this episode. I also, now, because of the nomenclature of where they're going, I keep thinking of Aliens. They're going to L370. In Aliens, Hadley's Hope is on LV3 3 something or other. But, LV426. That's where Alien was actually found. Are these actual star coordinates? Kinda. There's nothing really to reference it. It is a made-up planet, after all, or made-up solar system. But I do like how they're flying into danger. They're like, geez, we lost contact with this entire solar system where we charted 7 planets before. Now there's nothing but debris.
Now within the limits of system L370, but I can't seem to locate.
Captain, sensors show this entire solar system has been destroyed.
And depending on which version you're seeing, on the enhanced version or the original version, the special effects have really improved on the enhanced version. You see,
oh yeah,
it's incredible.
I watched both.
It is incredible, but I mean, for 1960s tech, That was considered quite a big thing. In fact, our favorite associate producer, Robert Justman, was like, how the hell are we going to afford all this stuff? Because they had so many different sets ideas. One of the things they wrote to Norman Spinard, can't you write something that uses existing sets? Hint. And Norman Spinard, who was 25 at the time, didn't know how to write for TV. He had written a lot of science fiction, so he went to his good friend Harlan Ellison, who said, if there's more dialogue in the script, then it's not good for TV. So they actually had to cut it down, and Gene Coon took over and wrote this. And to tell you how much they wrote over this, there were 9 rewrites of this script. It's basically Gene Coon's handiwork here. That's why the dialogue is zippy.
Yeah, no, and let me tell you something. I know the dialogue is very iffy, and also I can always tell when there are a bunch of writers. You know why?
Why?
Because at some point, I guarantee you, they actually had an actual explanation of where the Doomsday Machine came from. And this one, at some point, they were like, let's just make it a mystery.
Well, they actually did. They said it came from beyond the galaxy, so that's interesting. I mean, the Doomsday Machine does come back in other Star Treks, in a way. The Doomsday Machine comes back in a video game, which is called Starfleet Command. It's quite easy to destroy, believe it or not. Starfleet Command is the first video game that's based off of the board game Starfleet Battles. It's also in a Star Trek novel called Vendetta, in which it's discovered that the Doomsday Machines were designed to fight the Borg, which actually doesn't make sense since it came from beyond the galaxy. And it's also in Star Trek Continues the fan production, which is actually pretty darn good. It's something called In Harm's Way, where it actually fights Captain Pike's Enterprise. And that's a time travel nonsense thing. So there's some other ones. Not every fan production is terrible. That one's actually quite well done, I thought. It involves the Guardian of the Galaxy, Guardian of the Forever, and Guardians of the Galaxy would have Rocket Raccoon. So excuse me there. This one had the Guardian of Forever and a time twist of why there's so many, why the Doomsday Machine is still around, because there's no Kirk there to stop it, essentially. But
oh, I see.
But they also have William Wyndham again reprising his role. But I think it's actually pretty cool. You're coming in the mystery, you're seeing like all this destruction around, and then you come across the USS Constellation. Now,
another Constitution class?
Yes, remember there are 13 Constitution class ships in the Federation at this time, and you see the damaged ship. And I like obviously the remastered version where you get to see the kind of the structure, the superstructure being exposed. You see the metal metal cross beams. Actually, one of my favorite scenes in it, and I think it's like only on for like a second, is when they zoom in to like a really close up of the USS Constellation. You see an asteroid actually hit the hull and splatter into pieces. Or I think that's actually pretty cool. I like the way it looks. Now, in the original one, what they did is, since all this stuff costs money, they bought an AMT USS Enterprise model and broke off pieces. They damaged the nacelle. They burnt the front ends of the nacelles and the back, and they used that, and they just reversed some of the numbers. So if you take a look, the NCC on the Enterprise is, 1701. This is 1017, I believe, for the USS Constellation. That's what they did. They look similar because basically they are the same ship, but one's really beat up. I did like seeing that, and the entire crew come together in a naval way. Did you enjoy that? Where like they're going to battle stations, and everyone's like, It shows again the professionalism. No one's crying. So.
Oh yeah, can you believe it?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I did like that. I liked how the red shirts are actually useful and did not just get killed when they were on the new ship.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my problems with it. First of all, okay, I got some notes here. I don't know if I was going crazy, and I didn't even look it up because I wanted to, talk to you about it on the show. This guy, let's call him Old Smokey, the crazy captain.
You mean Commodore Decker?
Yes. Does he not look just like the crazy conspiracy guy who supposedly got killed in a court-martial but wasn't?
Yeah. Yeah, no. That's just because he's also unshaven, I think. Yeah, but it's not the same actor. They look similar. What's funny, William Wyndham commented that directors liked him because if they want to show someone who looks like he's about to lose his mind or be on edge, they hire him. He fitted perfectly, actually. He was also the prosecutor in To Kill a Mockingbird with Gregory Peck. So how about that?
Interesting.
Yep. I did like, it's obviously, since, I'm sure you could tell Paramount did not make 2 Enterprise sets. This is a redress of the Enterprise. I thought they did a really good job making the Constellation seem burned out and damaged. By the way, Gene Kuhn came up with the idea where the doors were half open.
No clutter, no half-empty cups of coffee. Whatever happened didn't happen without a warning.
Oh, genius.
Oh, come on. It's interesting. I do like the fact that engineering has scorch marks all over it. Everything is
That
burning.
was good.
Yeah.
What do you think did it, sir?
I don't know, lad. But I want a full structural and control damage check. And I'm going to have a look at those engines.
It's actually pretty neat. And then you have a diverse repair team as well. So
Yes.
that's actually pretty funny. Well, not funny. It's actually pretty nice, And again, it shows humanity working together as one team. Listen to you breathing in sighs of pain. It's like you ran 13 miles or something.
Well, let me tell you, the marathon I ran yesterday is nothing compared to the marathon of listening to my captain speak unbroken for 5 minutes straight while I try to chime in.
Okay, well, come and chime in, man.
I'm sorry. I will never interrupt, Captain. Can I tell you some of the things that I was, holding back on here?
Go, tell me.
It opens the same way as the Changeling. We have another super weapon, omnipotent power that has wiped out whole solar systems. Did no one realize that they picked the first 3 pages of the same script from a few episodes ago? Was it written by the same person?
No, it's not. These are just different scripts at different times. They just happen to put all these godlike machines all at the same time. This is the
God.
best plots of the season, I would argue, in season 2.
But we have this. We have the Changeling. We have the Corbinite maneuver. We've got the big hand from the Apollo episode. Can we just stop with the Doomsday device?
And Vol.
I'm just saying. Now, that being said, I will say this. I loved, similar to Devil in the Dark, I loved the design of the Doomsday Machine, and I loved it in I watched the redone one first, very impressive, and now I've got the original one in the background. It looks really good. They really captured that it was an alien, maybe life form, maybe not. That's why I did the whale song in the beginning, because it's like, well, what is this? Is it sentient? I mean, is it a computer? Is it a program? Yeah, I thought it was good. And again, I like, me, Captain, I like high sci-fi in my Star Trek. And we're starting off with some good old high concept sci-fi.
And even Commodore Decker notes it could be alive or a machine. We're not sure, or both. This is actually one thing that I like about it, is that you really don't know where it came from and what that kind of mystery is there. It does look good in both versions. This is actually a airport windsock that's been dressed in plaster of Paris, so it looks like a giant. I call it the parking cone, but it is really cool. I'm going to post, by the way, some scenes with a small child that's related to me facing down the parking cone later on the bridge. It's actually pretty funny. But I do like it. I have a model somewhere of it. I purchased it. Someone made it with their own, I think, with a 3D printer. I have to put it out. It has a light on it, so it can come from my models of the Enterprise. That's actually kind of neat. Mm-hmm. But you never actually see it ever again in all of Star Trek, except in those, I guess you could call the Apocrypha or side versions. There is a comic book version where they run into the Doomsday Machine. It's post that story where an alien comes saying, I was trying to stop it the entire time and you beat me to it, so I'm mad at you. But it also gives a background story, because they say there used to be things on the edge. I actually like around the hull. I like this weird, sleek, neutron hull. That's kind of neat. I like the fact that the new version, it's that black kind of evil-looking thing.
Apparently the only weapon the Enterprise does not have photon torpedoes yet.
No, they have photon torpedoes. They just didn't use them. So
okay, well, of course.
But would it have mattered? Because nothing they have could get through that neutronium hull. The phasers bounce off. Both in the original version, they literally bounce off, and in the enhanced version, you just see them kind of being absorbed. It's actually pretty cool. But getting back to the Constellation, I like all the damage and finding Commodore Decker on auxiliary control. That was also a script change. Originally, it was going to be cuts between two bridges, and the producers felt it'll be too confusing to TV if the bridges are the same.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. That's a really interesting. That's an interesting point. I hadn't even thought about that. I was like, yeah, why don't we get to see the bridge of the constellation? But unless they were going to make a completely different looking bridge set, they would have really had to muss it up to make it not confusing.
Yeah, that's correct. So that they did is it just said it was uninhabitable. Spock points out that there's no that you can't go there. So they auxiliary control, which kind of makes more sense. You know, you go to auxiliary control, which is where you would go anyway if the actual bridge was destroyed. That's kind of neat. Get to see you have the playback of the backup captain's log. You have that playing over there. You have Science Officer Masada looking over. It's also weird, you realize there are other crew members in Starfleet. It's not just our Enterprise team. And
of course, and they also have the insignia of the constellation on there.
Yes, it's kind of like an S. Kind of reminds me of a Stella D'Oro cookie. I don't know why, but it
delicious.
I love Stella D'Oro cookies. I miss the Stella D'Oro factory. It used to be in the Bronx. Every morning when I went to school, all the buses and trains would slow down, and we'd all take a deep breath.
Jeez, thanks, Obama.
Oh, you're very well. It's not Obama. It was actually the union went on strike, and the company fought itself to death. And then it got purchased by Lance Crackers. So there you go. But this idea of a doomsday machine, which is in here, this is actually a strong anti-war message. They mention the H-bomb, or nuclear weapons, as we are now know them to be today. It's still an issue on our planet. Unfortunately, in the Star Trek world, they were actually used. Remember, Star Trek is post-apocalyptic.
It's used in the late 20th century, so there's still time, Captain. Have you been watching the news lately?
Yeah, I know, except if we're going to live in Star Trek, we're a couple years ahead. The World War III happens around 1997-ish or plus. Well, that's the eugenics war anyway. Hopefully we'll never use those things. This has the same idea. Now, the idea of a doomsday machine, this came also out in Dr. Strangelove. You ever see Dr. Strangelove, the Peter Sellers film?
Are you kidding me? It's in my top 3 films of all time. I love that movie down in my deepest heart. I know it like the back of my hand. Yes, it was the one thing, again, the weird kind of hokey dialogue here where he's like, a doomsday machine. Oh, it's a piece of technology. It's like, no, that's wrong, screenwriter. It is not a piece of technology. It is a concept of technology. And I don't know. It just was a little awkward. This whole script needed another pass with a dialogue coach. He should have said there were machines that were considered to be doomsday machines, and then put in the Star Trek, 2 fake ones and 1 real one.
Yes, like the laser of Perseus 7 and
right
the
hydrogen bomb.
Hydrogen bomb. We need one more. Oh, and the Vulcan death laser.
You ever hear of a doomsday machine? No, I'm a doctor, not a mechanic.
It's a weapon built primarily as a bluff. It's never meant to be used. So strong it could destroy both sides in a war. Something like the old H-bomb was supposed to be.
But
exactly.
But actually, the idea of a doomsday machine actually came from a research scientist named Herman Kahn from the Rand Corporation. And Spinard actually referred to his book on thermonuclear war. And in weird aside, in college, I also had to use that book. I was studying deterrence theory. So Herman Kahn came up with the idea of a second strike capability. You want it to be strong enough to tell the Soviets, you mess with us, you kill us, we'll kill you right back. So that leads to mutually assured.
That's a thing. Well, strike me if I'm wrong. I don't think that there's. That's why we put our silos in underneath mountains and in planes and in submarines. It's like, well, sure, destroy all of America. You're not going to be able to know where our nuclear subs are.
Well, that's true, and that's the bigger cat and mouse game. And we don't actually put missiles in mountains. We put them in giant open fields in Kansas and Long Island and by Albany. But shh, no one knows that.
How do you know that, Captain?
I can't answer that question. Please look away. I do want to let you know, so just to go back to Herman Kahn, he worked for Rand in Dr. Strangelove. Kubrick also spoke with Dr. Kahn, and he called it the Bland Corporation. So there you go. Ha ha ha. I do love it. That's one of my favorite lines in Doctor Strangelove. Two of them is "Hey, gentlemen, no fighting in here. This is the war room."
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
That and if this is not a real emergency, you're going to have to answer to the Coca-Cola Corporation. Still probably
That's what, Major King Khan? No, Bat Guano.
Yeah,
if that is your real name.
Bat Guano.
No, I mean, and that's the amazing thing. This is what I loved about it, because it just captured masculinity. I wouldn't even dare say toxic masculinity. Just the concept of, like, you just want to accomplish something, to see it accomplished, and you're not necessarily thinking about the outcome. I'm talking specifically again about, obviously, the famous thing with Slim Pickens riding the nuclear bomb down.
Yep. And also, don't forget, we have another famous person in there doing his first role in a movie. His name is James Earl Jones. You might have heard of him.
Oh, yes.
He just recently
R.I.P.
passed away.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. He's Darth Vader's voice. That's it's pretty
among
cool.
many others. Well, listen, let's get back to Star Trek here.
Yes.
I got more notes.
Okay. Well, I want to just tell you that they wanted to get this done really fast, but I just want to tell you, and this is not the final cost, but I have to tell you this. So, since they needed the models, they actually went to a store and they bought the $3 AMT models of the Enterprise. That's $30 today. And then they promised Mark Daniels, film this in 5 days. They've been filming everything in 7 to 8 or 6 to 7 days. But if you film it in 5, you get $500. That in today's dollars is $47,000. $4,712. Yeah, that's a nice little bonus. But yeah, there you go. The thing that again, William Wyndham said he was hired because he looks like he's always breaking down. So there you go. Yeah. So what do you want to tell me? Go from here. What did you like from this point on, where they're already on the ship?
Well, honestly, I didn't like the whole going backwards and forwards about rank thing. Again, if it was Scotty, it would have been over in a second. I really liked Kirk as a man alone, trying to essentially be an engineer and working without the resources of a fully functional ship and crew, and showing that, man, this guy really is pretty smart and pretty capable.
Well, he also gets his hands dirty.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that whole part of it. I really enjoy the demonstration that Kirk is a very capable leader in a multitude of circumstances, and that he is Starfleet much more than this other guy is Starfleet.
Well,
because
the
this
other
guy
guys
is just
sorry, go ahead.
PTSD'd out. No, go on.
Yeah, no, he is PTSD'd out. In fact, that's what that's actually always makes me smirk, is when they find Commodore Decker there. The first thing they do is they inject him. I'm like, wow, is that better living through chemicals? Well, I just like, that's the first thing. What did McCoy give him? Here, have some vitamin A and some caffeine. I'm just curious what it is that he injected him with, but I always find that humorous. I do like that, but before they get into the fight of who's in charge, I just want to point out the 3 damage control people are actually named for the assistant directors. One of them, Washburn, who's the one who stays with Kirk to fix the monitor. His name is Richard Compton. He actually became later a director, and he has directed a lot of things, including TV shows known as Sliders, Babylon 5, Star Trek The Next Generation, X-Files, and T.J. Hooker. What do you think about that? So he's the one. Cool. What about the other thing that we noticed is that Kirk is wearing a green tunic. This is one of the few times he wears it.
He wears it several times. He wore it in the Mirror Universe.
He sure does. The reason why he's wearing a green tunic is there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that everyone notices. William Shatner's going through his divorce. He's dealing with tinnitus that he got from the explosions in Arena. He also is dealing with slight jealousy in the fact that Leonard Nimoy got Emmy nominations and he did not. And Roddenberry was trying to stick up for William Shatner by changing his costume to make him more the center of attention, and also to differentiate captains so they could stand out, which I kind of actually like the idea that the captain stands out like that. That
Sure. I mean, we always see the captains usually have some mild wardrobe changes. Remember, in TNG, there was like
the jacket.
Picard would occasionally wear this. Yeah, yeah. I really like that jacket. Actually,
you do? I actually hate that jacket, but that's what makes horse races. I guess I don't think I'd wear that on my bridge. It's just But one of the things, this is also where there's suddenly this episode began to have the rift between Shatner and the cast because William Wyndham noticed that Shatner was taking lines out that were said by Spock and having Kirk say them. Although you can't really tell from this. And
not at all.
And it was saying that the lower echelon of actors is B. Joe Trimble, one of the ones who helped create the letter writing campaign to keep Trek alive and a big Star Trek fan, saying the lower echelon of actors resented it. But he never tried that with D. Kelly, so that's interesting. However,
well, sure.
One of the neat things is just as a compliment, and I'm going to jump ahead to when Commodore Decker dies. There was an discussion between Mark Daniels and Jerry Finneman, the director of photography, of like, how do we light William Shatner so he looks like he is, really upset about the death of his friend? And Shatner said, why don't you just light my eyes and put the rest of me in shadow? And William Wyndham noticed that, you know what? That just proves that William Shatner is a professional, and he knows his craft, and he knows what he's talking about. And that's exactly what they do. So we have this like kind of dichotomy, or split personality. We've got sort of jealousy. We've got tension on the set. William Wyndham noticed that everyone was taking this seriously. He had been on other things, and he's seen other sci-fi that was always cheesy, but Star Trek was very serious. And that comes across in this episode. You have professionals.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
a really good point.
Yeah.
That based on, compared to what was going on at the time, this was kind of like the elevated science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Sets an interesting precedent for later Trek. This episode kind of reminded me of Booby Trap a little bit.
Yes.
Where we're facing an unknown, probably ancient technology that is kind of inescapable and irresistible. And also, Captain, this is a long shot here. You probably hate it. Did you ever see Lex? Do you know what Lex is?
Yes, that's the German science fiction show. It's kind of weird with the Brunnen G and Stanley Tweedle.
Are you kidding me? Yes.
It's
Stanley
weird.
Tweed and no,
Tweedle.
You're right, Tweedle. And it is German-Canadian, which is why it is in English, but there are a lot of very weird German actors in it, and it is very, very, very weird and sexually motivated.
Oh, yeah.
And gushy. And yet, I really admire it because at the heart of the show is the Brunnen G, which is a very serious warrior race that has been through a lot, and their battle cry goes like this: "Weo-hey-yo, weo-hey-yo, humvare." It means it's sung when you're facing something that, you're doing a last stand against an enemy that cannot be resisted. But anyway,
especially giant bugs, giant space bugs.
Well, and hence that was my next thing. Lex owes it a little bit to this because Lex is the name of the show, but also the ship, and the ship is a gigantic living spaceship that destroys and eats planets, just like this.
Well,
so there we are.
Yeah, there we are. Long way to get a ham sandwich there, Mike. But yeah, I agree with you. It's all right. I do like that we have this machine that's going out there. But if it came from across from another universe and it eats planets, this implies that there are planets in between or across the galaxy, in between the galaxies that the ship can use to fuel itself. Unless it's smart enough to know I'm going to go on sleep mode, like my laptop likes to do on occasion, and just kind of coast along until it finds a new food source. It is weird.
Not only that, I mean, Captain, I always figured this in space. If it could just propel itself once strongly between galaxies, it's not even going to be affected by any particular
friction.
gravitational source, and there's no friction, and there's no asteroids or anything or meteorites. Realistically, one good push with enough time, 1,000,000 years, 2,000,000 years, it can get to some other place without having to eat.
That's true. I guess but I just always think that's a really long trip. But I do like that. I do also like the fact that Kirk stays on the ship, and then we have that confrontation with him and Commodore Decker saying, "You got to leave." He goes, "I've never lost a command. I don't want to lose a ship." It's not a ship; it's a Hulk.
First thing we're going to do is get you back to the Enterprise.
Oh, no, I stay here. I'm not leaving my ship. There's no ship to leave. It's a dead Hulk.
He's right. The
Right.
Constellation is
Yeah.
garbage, but Scotty is able to pull out some miracle. But that's again, you have that confrontation on the ship, but you also have one of my favorite lines of all time from Mr. Spock about how they survived the Doomsday Machine. Sometimes I even say it in court. What do you think that happened? And I always say random chance is acting in our favor.
Yeah.
Random chance seems to have operated in our favor. In plain non-Vulcan English, we've been lucky. I believe I said that, Doctor.
It's actually a pretty funny line. That's Gene Kuhn for writing that. I do like that confrontation between rank structures between the Commodore and Mr. Spock. It is kind of fun.
I hated it.
You do hate it? I mean, Commodore Decker is correct. He does outrank him. But
And the ambassador outranked Scotty, and he told him to go suck an egg in the Armageddon. In Taste of Armageddon.
But the Ambassador Fox is wearing a green, wide neck shirt. Commodore Decker is Commodore in a gold shirt. He actually has rank and authority in the same organization. Is not a civilian officer. I do like the fact that there's that hesitancy around the bridge, like which order do I follow? Is what Sulu is looking at. That I thought was very well done. And when Commodore Decker eventually does take command and he orders the Enterprise to attack, there's this kind of look of resigned, like hopelessness in Sulu. But I also like the fact that Commodore Decker looks around the bridge mildly threatening, looking at the crew saying, "I'm in charge now." He just looks at them all. I thought that was neat. Did you notice that?
Yes. Again, man, I don't know who would have backed him if Scotty was just, if Spock was just like, okay, yeah, great, throw him in the brig, I'll take responsibility. It absolutely would have occurred, and this guy had a death wish anyway. And I didn't like the repetitiveness of the episode where he just keeps trying to go back and hit them with more phasers.
That's because he's
Can
crazy.
I give you my tiny little? I know, but can I give you what my tiny little rewrite of this would have been?
Sure.
It needed, in my opinion, Captain, a little bit more plot. So have it be that the Constellation was trying to figure out the origins of the ship, and it got a bunch of data that it wasn't able to decipher before it was destroyed, before the crew was killed, and have Scotty and Kirk figure it out using the databanks and finding some sort of weakness.
Well, that would have been interesting.
So, and having some sort of commentary on the origin of it.
Well,
Not just, well, it's a mystery. Can you believe it?
But remember, this is more about talking about us and the assured destruction of nuclear war, and that we shouldn't use these horrible machines that we can't actually stop or control. That's the real point of the story. But
I got that.
But I do like one thing I will tell you after that, right before Commodore Decker takes command, when the Enterprise gets hit, what I really like is that one special effect, which I'll put in here, but you'll hear the alarm klaxon doesn't exactly work right. It's like the Enterprise is going, "Ow, what was that?" It's actually kind of humorous to me, but I also like the music in this. The music is by Saul Kaplan. All the music in this works perfectly. It keeps building the tension on everything. You could feel where it's going. Like we're fighting futilely. We have the tension towards the end when Kirk is trying to get back to the Enterprise. I do like that as well.
Yeah.
The music
that was
is
good.
fabulous.
I really liked Scotty jumping into the Jeffries tube and getting his hands dirty real quick. This was like a Scotty Saves the Day episode, man.
Several times. He also curses in
Yeah.
Scottish. He actually made us, James Doohan said, I made up a Scottish curse. It's not really anything, but if you listen carefully, he says something. It's like he's cursing in Scottish, which, you would kind of expect, but considering he's a Scotsman. I also like the fact that when they do get the constellation moving, I know you know that the sets don't actually physically move, but when he pushes, okay, let's turn it on, and like everyone's falling all over the place because the ship is such a wreck because they don't have full control of it. I actually thought that was pretty cool. And then you hear the normal sounds of an impulse engine starting to go forward. That's actually pretty cool to me. Did you like that as well?
Yes, great.
Great. All right. Well, I like all the little
I don't
minutia.
know, man. It was a good premise and a good beginning, and then I feel like it just kind of went in circles, and then it ended.
Really, you think so? I don't know. I mean, I guess you would have to. It's pretty much, what are we going to do to face an unstoppable enemy? I don't
Apparently,
like.
just blow it up.
Well, eventually. I mean, my main thing, my one negative on this is: are you going to tell me in the thousands of years that this thing has traveled across the galaxy, not one alien race or its own creators thought, if we throw a really large explosion in the front of it, it will kill it? I don't know.
Again, it's why, and you know what? It's a central conceit that you have to face with all supervillains. Of it, you should not have the hero beat the supervillain by just hitting him harder, right? It should
Or
always
with a
be a
pipe?
mental thing. I was about to say, or with a pipe, because that was garbage too. And I look at Marvel, right? Marvel always has the big confrontation at the end, where it's one person versus the other. And in bad Marvel movies, you have the other person just hit the guy harder. And then in good, like Doctor Strange in the end of Doctor Strange. Do you remember that by any chance?
I don't remember the ending of the original Doctor Strange because there's been so much Marvel stuff right now, and to me, it's really just a lot of CGI garbage. So, but tell me,
he traps him in a time loop.
Oh, okay.
He says, yeah. So I like that. It's just like, okay, it's he's using his head. He keeps on saying, "Hey, I'm here to bargain," and it's implied that we'll stay here forever. We'll stay here for eternity. Maybe I've been doing this for 10,000 years, and I can outwait you. I can outlast you. So the concept of something that is outsmarting as opposed to just overpowering. And this, all right, we put a big bomb in your mouth. Bite down. Goodbye.
Okay. Well, then I want to come to some odds and ends. William Wyndham, I still think, is brilliant as Commodore Decker. I think he plays crazy really well. I like the fact that one of the things he said he added, he was trying to be Captain Queeg from the Kane Mutiny, where Captain Queeg was using those Zen balls to calm himself. He took the floppy disks, which is not what they're called at that time, the data disks. Actually, they weren't called anything at that time. They're called data tapes. The precursors to the 3.5-inch floppy. You remember those? And he's like
Yes, I do.
massaging them in his hand. He thought that would added something to the character of his psychosis, and I have to agree with that.
Yeah, I was curious what those were. I thought they were Post-its.
That would be funny too if you see Post-its all over the bridge, like clean captain's mess. Yeah, no, but those are data disks or floppy disks, computer disks essentially. So that's where the captain's logs are kept and other information. So I like the fact that he was like rotating them in his hand to show how crazy he is. But when he's finally removed, I think that's actually one of the better lines where Kirk tells him to get the heck out of his chair, on his own personal authority. I actually like that bit of dialogue to...
Not with my ship, you don't. Mr. Spock, relieve Commodore Decker immediately. That's a direct order.
You can't relieve me, and you know it. According to regulations...
Blast regulations. Mr. Spock, I order you to assume command on my personal authority as captain of the Enterprise.
Get rid of Commodore Decker. But again, one security guard and Commodore Decker. You think the security guard could have taken out Commodore Decker? I'm going to normally say yes.
Well, he had crazy on his
That's
side.
true.
He had crazy strong on his side, so who
That's
knows?
true. That's true. The other thing that this episode is known for is rapid cuts. In fact, the editor, Donald Rode, got 4 Emmy nominations for the work in here. But there are so many cuts in between bridge scenes, the 2 ships, and the action. I think it's actually still well done, where they cut between each other. And that's what I get from all this. Anything else notable from this episode for you, or?
I mean, again, I like the villain. I like the premise. The villain being the Doomsday Machine itself. I thought the execution was just a little underwritten, and I did like that the final climax was not, let's just throw a big bomb into his mouth. It really was Scotty trying to get him back over before he exploded. So, I dug that, and again, I liked Scotty getting his hands dirty to save his captain.
I do like also the fact that one of my other favorite lines in there is like, can you make this ship explode? It's kind of hard not to make it explode.
Scotty, can you set the ship's impulse engines to overload?
Aye. The shape that thing's in, it's hard to keep it from blowing.
I actually thought that was pretty funny.
Right.
But you have to admit, them Federation boys make a good ship. You know, it's pretty solid. You know,
darn tootin'.
Stand up to that crap. Also, we get to see Scotty's tri-pronged ray device. That's what that is.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yep. I like the fact that...
Does that ever make another appearance?
Yes, it consistently makes appearances through the rest of Star Trek. It's actually reused pieces of disruptors, but it's a ray machine, I believe it is. It's for calibration of stuff. I do like the fact that, by the way, James Doohan said he hated being in the Jeffries tube because it's like a tube at a 15-degree angle, so it's difficult to maneuver in there, which is the whole point. But
sure.
Yeah, this is his favorite episode. I can see it's very Scotty-centric. So,
oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, again, Scotty saves the day.
This is one of my favorite episodes. I do like...
Well, let me guess what the budget is.
Okay.
No, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I think that's pretty much it. I just want to point out that I think it was a little bit bizarre that Commodore Decker is able just to take a shuttlecraft to fly into the center of the Doomsday Machine. So there's no one on, even at Red Alert, there's got to be someone down there. And what does he have, like the ultimate passcode to tell the Enterprise just open up so I can fly out?
Who knows?
Well, I want to point out one last thing on that scene. When they came to the end, there was no dialogue in that scene, as it's obvious. You could see him making it. So Mark Daniels said is, you and the DP, the director of photography, will figure it out. Do what you got to do. Make it work, and I'll be right back. So Jerry Finneman and William Wyndon did that scene, decided to just film it with random facial expressions and cut out what they didn't want. So William Wyndham said, I just would try it through everything and figured they would keep what they want. I still think he looks crazy eyes through, like he's first calm with it. We are stronger with him than without him, but...
We're stronger with you than without you.
You can see he has that death wish, but then he's almost looks like he's changing his mind as he flies into the machine. Did you catch on that? What did you think of his acting there towards the end?
Fine. I like that it's not ending on a joke.
Yes.
Like my son, the doctor, or
the devil,
who looks like Satan here. I know. It's just like it's a pretty serious thing just happened here.
Yeah. They all right. Well, yeah, that's pretty much about it. We know what happens at the end. We have the Constellation get blown up, and the Federation files its insurance claims for a totaled starship. So, but that last couple of minutes, I like that. Gentlemen, I suggest you beam me aboard. I love that last little bit. There's a comic somewhere that shows the same scene. It says, gentlemen, I suggest you beam me aboard. And the response is, about that raise, Captain. Mm-hmm. But anyway... You wanted to guess how much this is. Tell me, Mike, what do you think this costs? We've got all the special effects. We got a new spaceship. We got a lot of phasers firing. We got the beaming in and beaming out. Redressing of 2 sets. What do you think?
$217,000.
Absolutely incorrect. This one was under budget. In $1967, this was $176,336. Under budget.
What?
Yes. They did it under budget because they reused several scene pieces. That thing where Scotty is grabbing like the engineering grating, that's actually from Tomorrow is Yesterday. Your favorite time travel episode so far. They have, they use those models from AMT, which were cheap or $3 a piece. So that's why they were able to do it so cheap. And so that $176,000 in 2024 dollars is $1,661,972.08. He's also nominated for a Hugo Award. Didn't win one, but it was really good. Sal Kaplan, the composer, did the music from The Enemy Within, which is one of our favorites. And one last little note is Mark Daniels was inspired to write his own story, and he actually wrote an animated Star Trek called One of Our Planets is Missing, which is very similar to this. And Norman Spinard went on to say he didn't really like television, but for the most part, although first disappointed with the story, he actually has grown to like it. William Wyndham liked it. He's saying, I'm a bit of a smartass. He died after being interviewed for this not too long afterwards. But
Oh, dear.
But and that's in 2013. But I think he did a great job on this as well. But anything else on the episode before we go to our final ratings? Or
No, it was... Oh, God, you're going to be disappointed.
Oh, my God. No, well, then let me just tell you
You're not
this.
going to like it.
You're going to sound like Jerry Finnerman. Jerry Finnerman was disappointed as the director of photography because he was pissed that Mark Daniels got that bonus, but not his photographers. I guess that'll cause a problem for a later time. I really enjoyed it. So, let's go hear what our unscientific ratings on a 1 to 10 scale this is. Mike, on our very unscientific 1 to 10 scale, what are you going to give this one?
Well, again, good setup, interesting concept. Just didn't move me. I don't know why. I liked I liked Kirk, and I liked Scotty kicking butt, but it was just the concept was a little underwritten. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Oh my goodness! Well, for me, we have another disagreement. I'm going to give this a 9. I actually like this start.
I thought that was where you're gonna go.
Well, see, aren't you surprised I didn't give it a 10? There are some problems with it. I do like the story. I do like the idea of facing an impossible odds. That probably means that you'd give the movie The Terminator a 6 from the way you're acting here. But
what are you talking about? I love The Terminator.
So I do enjoy the story of an unstoppable ship. You always want to know more of what this is. Well, where is it coming from? How can they stop it? I do like the way they came up with the idea of blowing up the impulse engines inside it, which makes you wonder what happens if they couldn't do it. I don't agree, by the way, with everyone thinking that this is something out to stop the Borg. To me, that doesn't make sense, especially since it came outside.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. What is it supposed to be saying?
They say that this was made by a race. This was a prototype to stop the Borg, and then the Borg came, destroyed the race, and this thing was launched. But to me,
that sounds cool. What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, I would see the Borg capturing this thing somehow, assimilating it, and then you would have even a bigger problem. I don't buy the fact that this was made specifically to stop the Borg. It's okay.
I like the idea that it's just a gun. I mean, it's just a beam. Like, I really enjoyed the art direction of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
That it was just like it had no living quarters. It had no brain.
Well,
all it was violence.
Right. Well, or it did have a brain. It was just not accessible to like turn off, or like Kirk to talk into killing itself. That's one of our other favorite tropes of Star Trek over here. I enjoy it though. It's a lot of fun to watch. I do like that first scene though when the Enterprise gets hit. I do like the little sarcasm between McCoy and Spock. Overall, I like the dialogue. And I like seeing the wrecked constellation. My 7-year-old now, when he was 4, was standing in front of the TV. It looks like he's actually on the bridge, so I'll post that on our community page. And actually, my older son, who's now 15, always says, "What about the constellation?" when he was like 6 or 7. So it was cute. So it always, "But is that gone?" Yes, it's gone. So it's always one of my favorite adventure stories, and I would argue it's better than what's coming up next, because we have another episode coming up next week, which is Cat's Paw, which is more of a Halloween episode than anything else. So we have that to look forward to. And if you like what we're doing here on Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all of our podcatchers and YouTube. And don't forget to hit the little bell notification so you know when our next episode's coming out. Also, don't forget to stop at our TeePublic store, buy some shirts. And you can hear Mike Seymour, and also...
Oh, God, it was like whenever Captain says, "Hey, we got a stinker coming up," I just know that it's going to be rough.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. But you can also email us and tell me that I'm wrong, or Mike's wrong about Cat's Paw. And you can do that by emailing us at yellingatgas@gmail.com. So there you go. Mike gave it a 6. I gave it a 9. I'm going to also post some other things. There was a recent Star Trek comic that came on out by John Byrne, the comics legend who did like Wolverine and so forth. He actually made a Doomsday Machine episode or photo novel. He made a whole bunch of Star Trek photo novels, and he kind of reused scenes from this and other things to make a Star Trek Doomsday Machine follow-up story. So I'll post that as well. So a lot of things to post to the community page. Don't forget to check that out in our YouTube channel. And I think that's pretty much about it. But I would also like to shout out to one of our newer members. Actually, last night I was on a podcast Jeopardy show last night. Remember, if you want to take a look at that, that is by John DeMarco. So hi, John. Thanks for letting me come to your after party speak. It was nice to meet you all. And thanks for liking and subscribing. And everyone go check him out. I have put his link to one of his shows in our YouTube playlists down below, besides Penske and Yum Yum podcast. So that's basically it. Mike, do you want anything else to add to this other than that was a lot of talking by your captain?
Nope. As always, even if I'm not the biggest fan of the episode, it's still a boon to be able to share this time with Captain and enjoy talking some Star Trek before the beginning of the week. And to all the current personnel out there, please have mercy on us both. Do not default us. Bump up our motions, etc., etc.
Yes. Thanks for throwing in that work thing in there. We're talking to you, someone who we know is a clerk, and everybody else. But anyway, shh, it's top secret. Anyway, thanks very much for listening in. Everyone live long and prosper, and we'll see you on the next episode, and see you out there.
Can't help wondering if there are any more of those weapons wandering around the universe.
Well, I certainly hope not. I found one quite sufficient.